Yo, 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 yo. What's going on? What's happening, everybody? Happy Friday night. How we doing? How we feeling? Not here. Yes, we are checking in. A little surprise pop up here on this Friday night. I don't anticipate we will be here very, very long tonight, but did want to come in and pop up and chat with my fellow Falcons fans and any non-Falcons fans. Everybody is welcome here. But how we feeling, man? Let's get straight to the topic. One thing that I really wanted to come in and discuss is something that I've been pondering, and I wanted to get y'all's opinions, and talk about it, with y'all, the crew. And that is, did the Atlanta Falcons fail Terry Fontenot? And I already know what y'all thinking. Well, here come Tyler with some more of his BS. We just had a nice victory, and he gonna pop up talking about did the Falcons fail Terry Fontenot. So I already know, what y'all thinking. But hear me out. That question, instead of being more of a pointed question, it's a little rhetorical and a little bit of satire, not much. But it is a legit thought, a legit question. Did the Falcons unintentionally, let me add that key part in there, did they unintentionally fail general manager Terry Fontenot? Let's say congratulations to Atlanta Falcons rookie Xavier Watts winning Defensive Player of the Year. That's a big thing as a rookie winning Player of the Month. I hope he win Defensive Player of the Year. Let me correct that. Defensive Player of the Month. So congratulations to Xavier Watts on that. And that really leads me into the topic. Did the Falcons unintentionally fail general manager Terry Fontenot? You got your rookie winning Defensive Player of the Month. Defensive Player of the Month. Terry Fontenot pick. Did the Falcons unintentionally fail Terry Fontenot? Because of course, I'm listening to everything the fan base is saying, and we are all excited about the young talent that's on this team, and rightfully so. I don't remember a time. Well, I kind of do remember time, but it's been quite some time since we have had this many young players playing big, in regards to rookies and second year players. It's been a minute, man. The last time I could probably recall, of course, the Super Bowl year. You went to a Super Bowl, so you got to show them guys some respect. Obviously, you had a lot of young guys, stepping in, playing big roles during our Super Bowl run. Debo Jones, Grady Jarrett, and a few others. Then of course you can go back to the 2008 draft. The draft that we drafted the greatest Falcons quarterback of all time, Matt Ryan. Harry Douglas was also in that draft class, and that draft class, along with some veterans. There were some veterans there, and there's some veterans on this team too. But they didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but they went to the playoffs. They did get to the playoffs, and I think that was a pretty big accomplishment at the time in 2008, because as y'all remember, the state of the Falcons franchise at the time, we were going from one era to the next, and a lot of people, fans alike, thought like maybe the Falcons were going to be down for more years before we were back in the playoffs, but thankfully that did not happen. And we enjoyed a good season in 2008. And so Did the Falcons fail Matt Ryan? Before we really jump into everything, man, let me shout out everybody that has came through in the chat real quick. We got King Atlanta supporters in the building. What's going on, King? Says, what's up, Todd? Can't wait to see the team win their first Super Bowl. I've been manifesting, and I love to hear that, man. I love to hear it. Me and you both, man. Me and you both. I'm going to tell you right now, God willing, I'm here to see it. God willing, I'm here to see it. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna shed a tear or 2 or 3 on that evening or that night. You know, I might do some boo-hoo crying, some old snotty nose crying. You know what I'm saying? Tears of joy, man. Tears of joy, tears of joy. I don't really recall ever crying because of an accomplishment about a football, about any sports team. But the Falcons are my heart. You know, that's my favorite sports team in the world. I will say this, though. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Y'all know me. Hey, you know, we're gonna keep it real with each other. I came close to crying tears of joy for one sporting occasion or event. And that's when the Georgia Bulldogs won the national championship after a 40-year drought. I came close. I was highly emotional when I realized they had won. Keely Ringo caught an interception. And instead of going down, you saw Kirby Smart and all the coaches get down. He took that thing to the house. And once he crossed the goal line, I was sitting here like, they're my Bulldogs, man. They're my boys, you know. But, you know, I didn't have any tears of joy. But I came close. I can't lie to you. I was highly emotional watching that game, man, because it had been a long time, you know, rooting for, you know, the teams that I root for, you know, Bulldogs, Falcons, and the Braves. You know, and the Braves eventually won their World Series, you know, the same year, but the Bulldogs happened first, and prior to that, the Braves had won since 1995. So there had been a lot of decades of disappointments and just frustrations and, you know, just being like upset that the team, you know, can't get to their final destination. But thankfully the Bulldogs, you know, they did it for me. I know there was a little small running joke that said the sports gods sacrificed the Falcons in the Super Bowl so Georgia could go back to back and the Braves could get a World Series. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. You know, that was a nice time period in the sports world for me. Those, you know, 2 or 3 years that Georgia went back to back, and the Atlanta Braves got their World Series at the same time. T Terry in the house. What's going on, T Terry? Says, what's happening, Sir Toddy? I'm chilling, man. Hope you're doing well. Got my dog 330 in the building. Yo. What's going on, 330, man? Appreciate you always coming through, showing love. Got TG in the building. Is that Todd Gurley? No, I'm just joking. What's up, TG? How you doing? What's happening, man? Lisa Sharp in the building. Miss Lisa, how's it going? How we doing tonight? Lisa, always great to have you come through. Says love to pop up. Yeah, it was just pop up tonight, you know. Don't think I'll be here too long. Coach in the building. What's going on, Coach? Shout out to Coach. Says, what's up, brother? Glad to see you on a Friday again. Since not the Waffle House. Let me get that steak and eggs with a strawberry shake from IHOP. Oh, man, you give me IHOP free promo in here. Coach, you're going to mess up our brand deal with the Waffle House by, requesting something from their competitor. No, but shout out to Coach. Y'all make sure to check Coach out. Also in the Coach's Corner, man. He's got his YouTube channel up, popping, is running. They putting out some great content early, so make sure to show them a bunch of love at the Coach's Corner. Also got my brother in here, One Time for the Fan. Shout out to you, One Time for the Fan. Appreciate you coming in, man. And also another great Falcons content creator. Make sure that you do check out One Time for the Fan on their YouTube channel as well. Always putting out great Falcons content. And also, you know, just being a great supporter, you know, of the Falcons franchise, of the Falcons football team, organizing a lot of fun trips and a lot of things to do. So shout out and salute to you for putting in that work. Definitely appreciate you doing it, and I know the Falcons appreciate it as well. So Toddy, what's good? Rise up to you. Coach also says, yes, we did. Terry did his job. There's talent all over the team. We literally might be the most talented team in the NFL. But coaching has failed them. I won't take it there for a coach. I like the I like the aspiration. I don't know if we the most talented team in football, but hey, if we are, I won't argue with it. But time will tell. Time will certainly tell. He says, also, bro, I don't think I've ever seen a stacked defense like this ever on my Birds. Think about it, in 3 years, barring injuries, this could be the greatest defense ever created. We have dogs at every position. I certainly hope so, my friend. I certainly hope so. And I know you said that you ever seen, and this is going to date back to before your time and before my time. But our old heads will love to tell us about the grit splits days of that defense, who set some NFL records back then too, so until another defense comes and take their crown, I think they still hold the title of the greatest Falcons defense of all time. And like you were saying, or you're alluding to, Coach, hopefully this current stack of baby birds, we got some baby birds. Hopefully they'll come through and take that title away from the grit splits Falcons. Atlanta Falcons pandemic in the building. What's going on with you, bro? Appreciate you coming in. Another great Falcons content creator, always putting out great Falcons content. So if you're not subscribed to Atlanta Falcons pandemic, what are you doing? Make sure that you are subscribing, and also check out the videos. Always putting out great content, good thought-provoking content as well. Says, what's good, Tidy? Man, I cried like a baby when Dallas came here and beat us out of the NFC Championship in 1981. That was a little bit before my time too. I was here on Earth, but I was running around with an afro and probably still had a pacifier in my mouth, so I can't really recall that loss to Dallas. But I've certainly done my research on it over the times, and of course, I've heard time and time again about that loss. I've talked to plenty Falcons fans who still to this day say, man, that hurt me more. That loss to Dallas and Danny White hurt worse than the Super Bowl. So I can only imagine. T. Terry says, Watts might win Defensive Rookie of the Year title. You said it right the first time. Okay, let's go with that then. Hey, I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it. Got our brother David Starks in the house. David, what's going on, bro? Hope you're doing well tonight. D-Mac in the building. What's happening, D-Mac? Toddy, the answer to your question is twofold. Yes, because he usually draft players in conjunction with the coaches. No, because Terry continued the tradition of drafting small players. That's a great answer, man. Like you say, that's a twofold answer, and we're gonna also dig deep into that in just a second, D-Mac. Just a second. The check down is a builder. Speaking of great Falcons content creators, check down, checking in. What's going on, check down? And also, man, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I got a beef with the check down. I got a YouTube Falcons content creator beef with the check down, because check down came on the scene making these elaborate Falcons videos, doing a superb job with the content. Then he just disappeared on us. Putting out great content, man, and he just disappeared. So I guess that's the Andre 3000 of Atlanta Falcons content creators. He just pop up, every few years, put out a few excellent videos, and he just popped back off the scene. So that's the Andre 3000. So we got to bring him out of semi-retirement, get him, back to pushing that MacBook and turning that camera back on to put out that content. Come on, Steven. But no, seriously, man, appreciate you coming in, man. Thanks a lot. Got my brother Winston Thorne in the building. Speaking of other great Falcons content creators, y'all make sure to check out Winston and also John Harris at the Eye Test, and they come on every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Says, what's going on, Bucket Chat? Smash the like button. Yes. Indeed, y'all. Please smash the like button. Thank you for that. Also, Winston, appreciate it, man. Lisa says, I have practice crying for when we win our first Super Bowl. I'm sure when it finally happens, I will be an emotional mess in a good way. Me and you both. With me and you both. Me and you both. Okay, you talking to Lisa? My bad. D-Max says, I learned to review the Falcons in quarters. I'm nowhere near buying the defense. I need to see more. I'm not mad about that, man. I'm not mad about that. That's just something, a lot of us have developed during our tenure as Falcons fans, and that's fair. That's fair, D-Mac pretty much said, hey, bro, I ain't finna throw no parade over 4 games. Talk to me in week 13. D-Mac said we can revisit this in week 13. If they still balling like they balling now, I'll buy in. I'll buy in. Lisa says, I can't wait that day, and those following will be amazing. Atlanta will be sideways in the words of Julio Jones. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We all looking forward to the day. Got my brother Cool C in the building. Shout out to the 770 in this thing. The whole 770 Cool C as always, man. Appreciate you, bro. Hope you having a good Friday thus far. Coach says, I don't know if Atlanta ready to have that parade. Be a whole freaknik in February, a whole hot mess, but I'm here for it and would be there. Oh, it definitely would be off the chain. It definitely would be an experience, man. Going back to the Braves, I probably told y'all this story, so I'm gonna try not to bore y'all. But when I went to the Braves World Series parade, you know, what's that? 2021, 2022? Whenever they won last World Series a few years ago, I went to the Braves parade. Now I did go to the Cobb County parade. Y'all Lisa, don't get mad at me. You know, I know you for true inside the perimeter, but I went to the Cobb County parade. You know what I'm saying? I went to the Bougie parade. But anyway, you know, and everybody, you know, people who understand what I'm saying when I say I went to the Cobb County parade. Where they actually drove at parade speed. You know, we got to see the players and interact with them. But let me stop. But yeah, I mean, we were happy the Braves won, but I came across so many people, y'all, that just said that we were saying to each other, total strangers, man, just imagine when the Falcons win, because that Braves celebration was super duper lit, man. I'm talking about, boy, it was lit. It was so lit. And man, everybody just kept wait till the Falcons do it. Wait, boy, you think this crazy? Wait till the Falcons do it. And everybody I spoke with was all in agreement. You know, when the Falcons finally do their dance, it's gonna be a big motion picture blockbuster movie, and I cannot wait. Got my family Keith Simmons in the building. What's going on, Keith? How you doing, man? Appreciate you coming in as always. Check down says I'll be back. All right, we're gonna hold you to that. We're gonna hold you to that check down. Y'all see him, so y'all go in the channel, flood his comments. Now he said he gonna be back, so he got to be back. He definitely got to be back. Lisa, the Braves downtown parade last year, they did. They zoomed, but they went through there like zoom. They definitely did. But yeah, the Falcons failed Terry Fontenot. If y'all don't mind, I wanna go back in some very recent history, and we really gonna dig into this and you know, really try to answer that question. Did the Falcons fail Terry Fontenot? So what I want to do is I want to share a video that I know y'all have saw already, but I want to kind of look at it again and kind of dissect it a little bit, if y'all don't mind. We're gonna dissect this video just a little bit. Let me bring myself down. There we go. Let me bring myself down. Let me turn the background music down a little bit, and that way we can get better volume. All right, now if y'all can't hear, and we're not gonna watch the whole thing because this was like 90 minutes long. I promise y'all, we're not watching this whole entire thing. We're just gonna watch certain segments of it, and then we're gonna stop and we're gonna talk about it just a little bit. I'm gonna play the audio, and if y'all can't hear the audio, just let me know in the comments. But here we go.
Say that, you know, we've got a pretty darn good roster in a lot of areas. Always room for improvement. But
and I'm sorry, I didn't even introduce the video, which is my bad. This is the press conference that obviously Arthur Blank and Rich McKay held when they right after they announced. Excuse me, let me grab this phone. Right after they announced the firing of Arthur Smith. Man, okay. Yeah, there we go. Right after they announced the firing of Arthur Smith.
But he and Arthur Smith together have put together that roster. So I give.
Now, one key thing that Arthur Blank said is he and Arthur Smith put together that roster. Speaking of Terry Fontenot, they're talking about Terry Fontenot here.
Give them credit for that, and with their whole staffs.
His power now is how you handle guys. Is it 50-50 split for you, coach? Or what does that look like?
Yeah, I think the structure, the intended structure would be that, Michael. It wouldn't be different than it is now between the head coach and the GM, depending upon who the head coach is.
So the question was like, you know, what's the power structure? What's the power balance between your general manager and your head coach? Which was previously Fontenot and Arthur Smith, and also going forward. And Rich McKay is going to answer that question here.
And that I think one thing we're going to be very committed to is, the head coach could be one that has head coaching experience. Could be, I mean, there's not going to be a definition of this, head coach. It's going to be left to the best candidate. Terry will play a part in that selection process for sure, a central part, and then we'll determine exactly how you do it between the coach and the general manager. What we did before is kind of the way a lot of teams are doing it, which is 50-50, kind of one's got the draft and one's got the selection process for sure, a central part. And then we'll determine exactly how you do it between the coach and the general manager. What we did before is kind of the way a lot of teams are doing it, which is 50-50, kind of one's got the draft and one's got free agency, one's got the.
Okay, he said the way that Arthur and Terry was doing it was kind of 50-50, and he used like one has the draft and one has personnel, but he's going to continue to give an example.
53, though, there's a lot of ways to look at that between the GM and the coach, but Terry will be at that table.
Yeah, he'll be incredibly involved. The only thing I would say to add on to what Rich said as well is that we made a study in 2002 before Rich was with us, which is hard to believe because it's been 20 years, I think, right, Rich?
20, yeah.
But I was really interested when I became an owner in 2001, and we did this in 2002 with actually a GM that used to work for Rich in Tampa, helped do the study. The history of the NFL, what were the attributes that made teams really successful over a long period of time? So the short and long answer to your question, Michael, is that you need a general manager and a head coach that have the same vision for the football team the same way.
General manager and a head coach that has a vision for the football team the same way, which obviously I agree with. And this is Arthur Blank trying to give his answer, his rationale, his strategy in a way that he likes his head coach and general manager to pretty much work in conjunction, because during this part of the press conference, that's kind of what the reporters were kind of asking about, like, hey, what's up with your power structure? Who's doing this and who's doing that? So that's Blank, continuing to answer that question or give a better explanation of, why the front office operates the way the front office operates.
How you distribute it, if it comes down to power, you're in a bad place. The word power should never come into play. It shouldn't be measured necessarily. I do sort of believe in the Bill Parcells philosophy is that you're asking the coach to produce the wins and be responsible for the team record, et cetera. At the end of the day is that, you've got to let them partially or significantly be responsible for helping, prepare the recipe for the recipes that are going to require shopping and what have you for players. And if you ask Terry, back the other day, he just gave me the same analogy. He said, my job is to help fill requirements that the coach and coaching staff believe we need to build a winning roster. So we're looking for collaboration. There has to be collaboration.
There's that key word Arthur Blank loves so much, collaboration. Collaboration. Blank loves that word, collaboration.
Collaboration between a general manager and a head coach. Has to be respect, not always agreement. Agreement is not always a good thing. A respectful disagreement is important in any institution, any organization, et cetera. So you want everybody to speak their minds. You want everybody to be listened to. At the end of the day, hopefully you'll have the same vision and same focus. You'll be able to come to decisions that collaterally everybody agrees to.
I agree with that, Arthur. I agree with everything you just said.
Collaboratively, I should say.
How do you guys feel about knowing you're not going to please everybody all the time?
Okay, so we're going to jump through this. I promise y'all we were going to watch this whole entire thing. Let's jump through another key point here. Let's go here. Yeah, let's go here.
Rich, do you want to?
Yeah, the other thing I would say to your question, fine question, but Arthur Smith did not report to Terry. And
Arthur Smith did not report to Terry. Now, that is something that was highly discussed, highly talked about, highly dissected, highly picked apart. Amongst a lot of us Falcons fans, and a lot of us, who create content for the Falcons, Arthur Smith did not report to Terry. Whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, at this point, who knows? Who knows? Arthur Smith obviously is no longer with the franchise, so I don't know if we have a actual straightforward answer on that at this part. But he is reiterating, Arthur Smith did not report to Terry. They were kind of 50-50.
we didn't set it up that way. We didn't want it that way. We wanted a partnership where there could be a shared vision and get us.
And Rich McKay is reiterating what Blank is saying. We didn't set it up that way. Us two at the top, we didn't set it up that way. We didn't set it up to the point where, okay, head coach A reports to general manager B, then general manager B goes upstairs and reports to the owner. No, that's not how we wanted to do. Now, other franchises may do that. They may have success doing that. They may not have success doing that. But we purposely did not want that chain of command with our head coach and our general manager.
What we thought we needed on the personnel side, and I think we achieved it. We're definitely in a better place than we were 3 years ago based on their collaboration. Today, as we see it, we see the same setup. We don't see the coach reporting to Terry.
All right, now keep in mind, this is a real key. This is gonna come back here in about 10 or 15 minutes. This is before they hired Raheem. So before they hired the new head coach, because at this point, they don't know who the head coach is gonna be, or at least that's what they led us to believe. You know what I mean? So they're saying we don't envision whomever our next head coach is, since we fired Arthur Smith, we don't envision the next head coach reporting to Terry Fontenot, because that's just not how we do things.
But Terry will have that same role as being in charge of personnel.
Terry will have that same role as being in charge of personnel. Okay, so we're at least establishing verbally that Terry is in charge of personnel. Although just a moment ago, and I'm not trying to trip Rich McKay up or anything, just a moment ago, they said that Terry and Arthur were responsible for building up the roster. So, it may just be a choice of words, or I may be nitpicking, or I may be on to something, y'all tell me.
So the idea was, and Michael asked the question, will it be a 50-50? That's our thought going in. Could change.
Okay. All right. I'm rocking with you, Rich McKay. That's our thought going in. It could change. That's something else. That's some foreshadowing. That's our thought going in. It could change. So they're leaving open the door of opportunity for change. I like that. They're not pigeonholing themselves into, everybody got to be equal, and the GM and the head coach got to report to me, and then I report to Arthur. We've been doing a lot of losing, so that might change depending on who we get in here.
But please don't take it that somehow Terry's role would be diminished. In no way, shape, or form would his role be diminished.
And I watched most of this interview again before coming on, and I will say, what's this, like about 2 years later, they made a point to keep saying Terry role hasn't been diminished. Terry's still our GM. They just made a actual point to keep saying publicly nothing about Terry has changed. We fired the head coach, but nothing about Terry Fontenot has changed.
His role has still been to run the personnel department, which I think the record speaks for itself. And
These gentlemen, they both, if you look at a traditional table of organization, they both report to Rich McKay.
All right, there we go. Now, Rich is saying his job is to run the personnel, and Arthur's saying their role both is to report to Rich McKay. I mean, that's not groundbreaking news. We've already known that, but it's on the table. It is on the table from the Dundada himself.
And that we've been clear about that. So that hasn't changed, and kind of Rich represents Terry up here today. Again, we're trying to divide and conquer.
Rich represents Terry up here today. Okay.
And just be respectful of that we're trying to, it's nothing to do with Terry. I mean,
Arthur getting short now, Arthur getting short. Like, hey, what y'all trying to do with these questions?
Honestly, personally. And I would just share again, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but if you end up with a debate between a coach and a general manager, who's got the 46, who's got the 53, who's got the plus 16, who's got this, who's got that, you really don't have the kind of collaboration. Forget about
collaboration.
My experience, business-wise or football-wise, but throughout the NFL and the history of NFL, you really don't want to have that kind of measured, this kind of relationship. You want this kind of relationship between a coach and a general manager. If they don't see the world basically the same way, the world is round, not flat, agree upon the number of oceans, the number of continents, et cetera.
So here they are. They're still here trying to explain and rationalize the front office power structure. They're trying to rationalize it, trying to explain it. And what's being said, but really not being said verbally, is how much power does Terry have, Arthur and Rich? How much power you hired this guy, made him your GM, but we hear what you're saying, but does Terry have like what we consider traditional general manager power? And they're trying to explain, well, this is how we do it in Atlanta.
They're going to have different opinions about different things, and that's okay. That's healthy in every organization, truly. But honestly, you really want them to be, having that kind of just free-flowing relationship, respectful relationship. And that's what we did have with Coach Smith. And I would say that's what Thomas had with Mike Smith, and Thomas had with Coach Quinn as well. So,
all right, we're gonna jump past that subject. We're gonna revisit this. This is just kind of an irrelevant revisit here, but we're just gonna listen to their explanation again about we ain't gonna go there yet. We're gonna hear their explanation about the quarterback situation during this period of time.
There was never capital NEVER. Is still, I think I could still spell.
That was what we needed. That's what we needed to do right now to make that happen.
Zach, let me add on to a little bit what Rich, just to kind of reinforce Rich said. Now, I would take it a step further. There was never capital NEVER. Is still, I think I could still spell. At least that word I can.
I think you're right.
There was never any discussion about any other quarterback path other than one that Coach Smith and Terry and we supported, but they chose to take. And this is not to defend.
They're talking about Desmond Ridder.
Either Taylor or Dez, but our quarterback play this year was clearly deficient. But quarterback play includes, scheme, play calling, other players. There's a lot of things that go into what makes a quarterback successful or not. And how you transition a quarterback into the NFL with the level of complexity of plays you put in front of them, and whether it matches where they are in their career path. There's a million things that go into it. That's all I'm going to suggest is that, I've learned a lot in 22 years, and that's one of the things. So it's not just the player. It's the coach, the coaching. Many of these young men today in all positions come in the NFL today. They are diamonds in the rough. But they need to be polished and polished by a great coaching staff. So, I mean, Desmond, I'd say Desmond would say the same thing. Taylor would say the same thing. Wasn't the kind of years that they hope to have personally, obviously for the club as well. They'll continue to work on their crafts and continue to get better. And who knows what the future will hold for Desmond. Bright young man, committed, team leader, athletic. Obviously not the kind of year that he wanted, not the kind of year we wanted. And Taylor Heineke had a different track record elsewhere and played through a number of injuries this year. And so we'll see. But I mean, I know that I did, and I know that Mr. McKay did as well, that any option that the coach ever wanted relative to whether it be quarterback or any other position was completely supported by all of us, 1,000%.
He says what the coach wanted. He says what the coach wanted. And as I was watching this, when they started talking about Ritter, to kind of bounce off what Mr. Blank just said, when he said what the coach wanted, it's almost like Blank subconsciously, or maybe consciously, Mr. Blank is still sharp, extremely intelligent, well-spoken, but it seems like he was, again, either consciously or subconsciously trying to put more of the responsibility on Desmond Ritter being a starting quarterback on the coach. It seems like he kind of stepped away from the collaboration with Terry and almost was saying, well, this was more Arthur Smith's idea. That's what I gathered from this.
1,000%, without any equivocation.
Jared Bell's like we're on the list.
Gentlemen,
Jared, how are you? Good to see you
pretty
again.
good. Good to see you too, Arthur.
Thank you.
Wondering how much weight you will put on previous head coach.
All right, we'll jump past that. They're about to talk about previous head coaching experience. Now, this is the part I was saying a moment ago. We're gonna jump back in the time machine and y'all pardon me here. This is irrelevant now because we have what I think most of us seem to think our quarterback for the future is a Michael Penix Jr. and definitely glad that he's here. But let's revisit the Lamar Jackson situation. They're about to ask them about Lamar here. So let's go back in time and use our hindsight and see what they say.
To go is more complicated today than it's been in the past. So we need to recognize that and fill in the blanks for them, help them.
Josh.
Was it a mistake not to pursue Lamar Jackson?
Now, for y'all that don't remember, I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all that. I think this is Josh Kendall. He says, was it a mistake not to pursue Lamar Jackson? I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all. This question had my owner doing all kind of somersaults and flips and getting flustered and stuttering over his words, which Arthur rarely do, and just he backed him up in the corner and and it took Blank a minute to come out that corner. So y'all about to hear his answer right here. Just you could tell he was like, "Oh my God, how do I answer this?" Good Lord.
Was it a mistake to not pursue? You're asking me.
He repeat the question, and much love to you, Arthur Blank. I got nothing but love for Arthur Blank. But he repeated the question, and then he said, "Are you asking me that?" Yeah, they asked you that, Arthur. Who else is up here talking? They asked you that. He as y'all know, he's that's a stall tactic because he needs time in his mind to figure out what he's gonna say and how he's gonna say it. Because this is a very uncomfortable question for Arthur Blank, obviously.
Well, I'll give him, yeah. I don't think so. I mean, I think that, it's easy to say yes, given his year. He's an obviously incredible player. We did not have the cap space. I think the coaching staff felt, coaching personnel, all of us felt collectively, but certainly Coach and Terry, that, we felt we had an answer in Ritter, a younger player without,
Coaching staff. There we go again. He's putting more of the onus on the coaching staff and less of the onus on the general manager. Although, we have this big initiative about collaboration. But when it comes to Ritter, Arthur Blank, again, whether consciously or subconsciously, is putting more of the onus on the coaching staff. Oh, maybe that's the reason Arthur Smith got fired and Terry Fontenot did not. Maybe that played a big part in Arthur Blank's decision.
You know, that kind of contract that would have kept us from actually building the team we wanted to build. Is, you know, what's happened to us too often in the past, Josh, and you've seen this, and many people in this room can remember players that we've drafted well, brought them along, got to year 4, year 5, we had to let them go because we didn't have the cap space. It's not a question of cash; didn't have the cap space, so we had to let players go. That's not a good formula. We want to be able to raise our own children and keep our own children as best we can. So I think, you know, the result of that thinking was that let's stay the course. Let's continue to pursue the vision that we have now. Continue to build a roster, build this foundation, offensively and defensively, and go from there. It's not a criticism of Lamar. You know, you can debate whether or not he would have really been available or not. You know, who knows whether they would have matched whatever offers are on the table. I don't know that. I'm not sure, but certainly a great player for sure. Had a great year.
Rich, to use, not to ask you to repeat Mr. Blank, but but did, in using your words and things that reached or did not reach the level of formal discussion, did that question ever reach the level of formal discussion, or was it?
Well, we're in cap rehab, and we were coming out of cap rehab, and we felt good about where the cap rehab was going. I think anytime you talk about, and I don't like to talk about specific players on other teams, that does.
We'll stop it right there on that. He gives his answer, which is almost repetitive of what Blank just said, and then he talks about Matt Ryan's contract a little bit also. But my reason of showing this video again is to kind of paint the picture of how the chain of command was during the Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot era. Collaboration, almost like they're both kind of sort of responsible for the roster. Terry Fontenot having to report to Rich McKay, so like, does Terry really have his full GM powers? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of question marks here. And this was a highly entertaining interview, and this is press conference, excuse me. This is one of the few press conferences that, probably the only press conference, just to be totally honest, because everybody loves Arthur Blank around here, but this is the only press conference that I can recall, and it gets even deeper further along in the video. Y'all, you can go back and watch the whole rest of it if you like. It's still on YouTube, obviously, but this is the only press conference that I can remember that they literally had Arthur Blank in a full court press. We watched a few of the questions where they kind of stumbled him up a little bit, but further along in this press conference, man, they had old Blank in the press, boy. I never saw Blank was just getting pressured like this from his local media. This was almost a press conference that you see from the New York reporters, who like, oh, we won't come here and we're gonna ask the tough questions. We're gonna ask the tough questions. Why you do this? Why did y'all do this? Do you think this was a good idea? We don't think it was a good idea. Who's really running the show? Why you don't let your general, like, I never saw that more Arthur Blank like this, man. So, there was some entertainment value in this press conference. I kid you not. But yeah, that was right after Arthur Smith was fired. This was in January, if memory serves me correctly. Now, a few weeks after this press conference, the Falcons announced that they have hired Raheem Morris. They announced that they hired Raheem Morris. And around the same exact time that they announced that they hired Raheem Morris, Arthur Blank also announces that Rich McKay will now be removed from his position as a day-to-day person with the Atlanta Falcons personnel. He's being removed. Not saying that he was demoted or anything like that, but Blank is like saying, you know what? Forget everything me and Rich McKay just said in this press conference a few weeks earlier. Now I'm moving Rich McKay out the way. I'm sending him to soccer and just changing his responsibilities. He's no longer going to be the intermediary between me and the general manager and the head coach. I'm getting him out the way, moving him over to other parts of the company. He's no longer going to hold this role within the Atlanta Falcons that we just held this 90-minute press conference about. And not saying that they got to tell us all their business, which they obviously don't, but this entire press conference, they gave us no kind of indication or no kind of reason to believe that Rich McKay would be removed from his post. Nowhere in this interview. In fact, they kind of led us to believe, like, whoever the new head coach is, hey, Rich McKay still gonna be here. That's kind of like the vibes that they gave us. But around when they hired Raheem, Arthur Blank removes Rich McKay and says, you know what, head coach, general manager, y'all just gonna report to me. There's no more reporting to Rich McKay. Y'all just gonna report directly to me. So it was different as far as that part goes to what they were saying in the press conference that we just watched. And now let's take a moment to listen to Arthur Blank kind of give the reasons why. So let's take a moment and listen to that also. If y'all can't hear the audio, let me know.
And really new general managers, particularly this last go around, he served an important role in terms of helping them transition into their roles as a head coach and a general manager in the league. That is no longer not necessary with this group. I mean,
now Blake is saying, well, he's no longer necessary, but I love you, Arthur, but that really wasn't the vibe or the tone of the press conference that y'all just had. Like, you really kind of led us to believe that Rich McKay would still be there, but now it's almost like you slept on it, you thought about it, and you say, you know what? Maybe I got too many cooks in the kitchen. Maybe I do got too many cooks in the kitchen.
Terry's been with us for 3 years, going on 4 years now. Raheem has been in our building for 6 years, been in the NFL for 23 years. So that transition role and that guidance role is really not needed. Rich, however, is still the CEO of the Atlanta Falcons, of the franchise, not the football team, of the franchise. That includes all the business parts of it. So he's still a very trusted colleague, will be very heavily relied on in a variety of areas, just not in day-to-day football operations.
Just not in day-to-day football operations. He made it perfectly clear that I'm going to specify that he is not in day-to-day football operations anymore.
I might add also, of 32 teams in the NFL, there's, I think, 4 or 5. Example would be the Packers is one example, where the head coach today, as of today, the head coach and general manager do not report directly to the owner. The rest of them, all of them, report directly to the owner or some form of the ownership. So in the case of the Packers, an example, which is a publicly owned franchise, their CEO actually performs the role of the owner there. And there's a few other ones where the owner is either physically not on property, lives in another area, is not there very often, et cetera. So they'll have a CEO that'll serve that function. But hopefully that answers that question, Michael.
Thank you. All right, go to Tori McElhaney.
Mr. Blank, thank you so much for talking.
Okay, so that was Arthur giving his reason why. Giving his reason why that Rich McKay is no longer there. So obviously, he's no longer in the chain of command. And now that will continue the initial question. Did the Atlanta Falcons Terry Fontenot? Because now at one point it was head coach, general manager, and now y'all report to Rich, and then you report to me, and and then a few weeks later, it's like, well, no, let's cancel that. Everything I just said about the hierarchy, cancel that. Rich McKay is out the picture. I slept on it. I think, you know what? I think I probably do need to give Terry Fontenot more power. I think I do need to give him more actual responsibilities, because that's really what it sounded like to me on the last press conference that we just heard from Arthur Blank. Let me remove the unofficial GM and let me actually allow the guy that I hired and I pay to be the general manager actually be the general manager. That's what it sounds like has happened to me. He's gonna let the general manager now actually be the general manager, and with that, I think it's safe to say comes more responsibilities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now we got Raheem Morris in tow. And one thing that I noticed when I listened to Raheem Morris interviews that I never really heard when I would listen to Arthur Smith's interviews. Whenever Arthur Smith would talk about personnel, draft decisions, trades, stuff like that, he would always use that keyword collaboration. Me and Terry collaboration. Now that Raheem Morris is here, I often hear Raheem defer to Fontenot whenever they're talking about drafts or personnel. Raheem will start talking and they'll ask a question about personnel. Well, y'all know how Raheem Morris talk. Well, that's Terry Fontenot, his guys. I leave that up as Harry. Oh, Raheem, what did you think about getting this guy in the second or third round? Hey, man, that's Terry Fontenot. Him and this guys, they do a great job. Raheem always seems to defer to Terry. Not saying Raheem never uses the collaboration term, but very often, and I know y'all keep up with the Falcons just as much as I do, and y'all watching these same press conferences, but you often hear Raheem defer to Terry when the subject of personnel comes up. I heard it this past draft and I heard it last year. I hear it very frequently in the press conference. And you didn't hear Terry getting deferred to during the Arthur Smith era. So that leads me to believe Terry has more personnel power. They're actually allowing now Terry to really do the job that he was hired to do, to be the general manager, to be the shot caller in the NFL draft. Like, hey, this is your draft. Not saying that you're not going to, not of course I'm not saying that you're not going to confer or meet with your coaches and bounce ideas and suggestions off one another, but it seems like now Terry is sitting at the head of the table instead of sitting at the side of the table. That's what I'm starting to gather from this. There was another, and I might be reading too much into this, but there's something else that I want to play y'all. A clip that I want to play from this past draft that we just had. And I found this to be pretty interesting also. I want to play this.
Jerry's he's old school, right? But there's so much wisdom, and he's kind of like a grandpa, and my dad passed away a couple of years ago, and I feel like Jerry's one of those guys you can talk to him. There's certain guys like that, like Rustin Webster. Like you talk to him, you feel like you're talking to your dad, and they have all this wisdom. So Jerry always sends me these just motivating texts and just really good stuff, right? So he texted me this morning, hey, congratulations on last night. Great moves. Very excited about what we're adding to this team. Great night. But in the famous words of Janet Jackson, she famously sang, "What have you done for me lately?" So we had to get somebody in the secondary today. So we had to, like, it was basically.
Now, I know that may not seem much, but to me, it was a lot. Defensive back coach text the GM like, "Hey man, hey man, y'all, hey, great job of Jalen Walker. Welcome to Atlanta. Hey, great job of James Pierce Jr. Hey, welcome to Atlanta. Welcome to Atlanta. Great job. Let me clap for you." But I'm also finna send you this text. What have you done for me lately, bro? Where are my guys at? He texts that to the GM the night before. Then the next day, what does the GM do? Let's make a trade and get Xavier Watts. So the GM has listened to one of his coaches. What have you done for me lately, bro? We just lost Justin Simmons. You know, our secondary got toe up last year, bro. And you getting all these pass rushers. Granted, we need them, but what do I get? And Terry, being a general manager, having now his general manager's powers, don't worry, I got you. You ask me what have I done for you lately? I got you. Xavier Watts. And y'all know we just talked about Watts when we first came on the show. Defensive player of the month. You know? So to me, it's subtle stuff like this that lets me know Terry has way more power, way more pull than he had under the Arthur Smith regime. When he had to confer and work under the guidance and tutelage of Rich McKay, which in my opinion, you know, you may disagree, but which in my opinion, I'm sure affected how the drafting took place, the players that we drafted, the players that we acquired, because there were so many cooks in the kitchen. So Terry didn't necessarily have his real blueprint, his real stamp of his personal approval of how the team was being built or how the team was being constructed. You look at the first few drafts with Arthur Smith, and I'm not trying to blame Arthur Smith on anything. He did his thing. I that's why I titled this, "Did the Atlanta Falcons fail Terry Fontenot?" I'm not saying did Arthur Smith fail Terry Fontenot. That's why I say did the Atlanta Falcons fail Terry Fontenot. Now you look at the drafts where Terry got what I feel like more power. You look at Terry Fontenot's draft picks. Although we already had Kirk Cousins, $100 million guaranteed. Terry Fontenot did the most unconventional thing that we saw in the NFL draft in a long time. Yeah, I just gave Kirk this money, but you know what? This Michael Penix guy, I like him. We like him. I'm still gonna get him. I'm still going to get him. I'm still going to get him. So he goes and get Michael Penix. To me, in my opinion, that was Terry Fontenot's first draft pick as the general manager. Excuse me. Yes, as the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons, Michael Penix. And that's normally what a lot of general managers do when they get a new team. Especially if you have an older quarterback or you have a bridge quarterback. Man, look, let me go draft my quarterback. I got to get my guy. So even though we have Kirk Cousins, he still went and got his guy. So he goes to get Michael Penix, 8th overall. In that same draft, he went and got Rook or Roro in the second round. And obviously Rook didn't play a whole lot his rookie year. And it had a lot of us fans thinking like, man, this guy Rook, he must ain't hitting no nothing. This guy can't even really get no snaps. But now look at Rook, year 2. one of the highest rated interior defensive linemen in terms of getting pressure to the quarterback. He's a significant reason that the Falcons are ranked so high in defense right now, and hopefully it'll continue to stay that way. But Rook has been playing some good football for us this year. You know, round 3 he went and got Braylon Trice. The jury's still out on Trice because he can't stay healthy. You know, so we'll have to probably revisit this in about 2 more years. But they had high hopes for him. They end up paying what's that guy name? I think what's his name? Megan Fox. End up just giving him $3 million, you know, after they cut him. So obviously they had high hopes for Braylon. Round 4, he went and got Brandon Doyless. 4th round. Brandon Doyless only played 54 snaps as a rookie. Only 54 snaps. Now he's a starter. Another one of Fontenot's picks with his first year as GM, with all, you know, with the power he needed to have. And Brandon Doyless is playing some really good football, y'all. He's getting pressure up the middle, and he's also playing good run defense. Now, is he a Pro Bowler? He's all pro, or, you know, is he just dominating all game? I'm not finna take it that far, but hey, look, this is first year starting. He's still a puppy, but look how well he's playing his first year start. These are all, you know, Terry's picks. JD Bertrand, you know, probably going to be a lifelong special teams guy. But just these first 3 names alone, starters. These are all guys that now start on the team. Obviously the quarterback. Then the guy that you took in the 4th round and the 2nd round. They're now starting, and they're playing good football. They're playing good football. You also got Casey Washington in that draft, and he plays sparingly, but that's a 6th round draft pick. You know, you don't expect the world of him. Terry's first draft. Let's go to Terry's 2nd draft. You know, you just heard him talk about how Xavier Watts got on this team. You know, and I'm not saying that they probably would still got him anyway, but hey, I'm sure Jerry Gray voice carried a lot of weight. It was like, okay, yeah, so let's get it. Let's go ahead and get him then. This other position that we was debating on, no. My guy said, get this guy. You know, I value his wisdom like a father figure. So yeah, let's go ahead and get Watts. And you got Jalen Walker, showing a lot of potential. Jalen Walker was the highest rated defender last game against Washington. The highest rated defender on the entire team, Jalen Walker, as a rookie. According to PFF, he had the highest grade for everybody on our defense. Rookie. We jumped right back in the 1st round. Terry Fontenot, James Pierce Jr. You know, James Pierce been balling since training camp, you know. One of the highest pressure rates in all of the NFL for edge rushers. He was ranked top 5 for most of the season so far, and I think he's 8 right now. And these guys really ain't starting. These are rookies. These are rookies. Jalen and James Pierce, these are rookies. These are rookies, y'all. Rookies. Round 3, Xavier Watts, Defensive Player of the Month as a rookie. A rookie, y'all. Round 4, Billy Bowman. And all these guys in this draft get major playing time, major contribution. The Falcons are still ranked 2nd overall in total defense. And all these guys in these 2 drafts that we just reviewed, Terry's draft picks, major contributors to the team. So I asked, did the Falcons fail Terry by putting the handcuffs on him the first 3 years? You know, and I get it. This was his first time as a full-time GM. But once you give him his powers, Terry went out here and had some stellar drafts. Stellar drafts. All these guys the first 2 years that Terry has been drafting, they are giving us major reps, major contributions to the team. That's why I asked, did the Atlanta Falcons fail Terry Fontenot? If you're gonna hire him as if you're gonna hire him as a general manager in 2021, Blank, maybe you should have just went ahead and moved Rich McKay out the way at that point. Maybe at that point in time, we possibly could have got even better talent. You know, maybe some of the guys who didn't work out in them first couple years or them first few years, maybe we don't draft them guys. Because it's at that point in time, it was so many cooks in the kitchen. You know? So let me hop in the comments real quick. Georgia, Texas boy, what's up? Says yes, on R. Smith was in charge of personnel while Terry Fontenot was focused on getting the books right. I can believe it. That's what it seems like. That is definitely what it seems like. Doing stuff with CJ is title. What are you trying to say? What I was trying to say, and I know I'm probably behind on reading this, but what I'm really trying to say is, did the Falcons maybe unintentionally fail Terry by not just letting him be the GM off the rip from day one? By hiring him as a general manager, but putting him in the role of a mentee with a mentor and giving the head coach probably as much power over the personnel in the draft as Terry Fontenot had. So did they fail him by doing that? Did they not realize, like, hell, this guy can really find some talent in the draft? That's why you hired him, Arthur Blank, because he was good at finding talent. You know? So did we fail him? Georgia, Texas boy, so I agree with you that on Toddy. On that Toddy, Morgan Fox. Okay. And we cut him. You know what I'm saying? We gave him a pretty significant contract. And that's more in line of what we talking about now, Georgia, Texas boy. We picked him up and we saw these young guys say, you know what, bro? That $3 million, you got it. You know, you got it. You got an easy $3 million just come to camp for a few weeks. That's on us, big dog. These young boys out here, these young guys, shit, we ain't got no room for you out here, dog. You just gonna be taking up a roster spot that we need for somebody else. You know? So, hey, enjoy that, bro. You know, enjoy that. Vacation on us. Vacation on the Falcons. Dave says, and remember the pundits killed last year. Oh, they killed, boy, what? Oh, my Lord. I still remember that. They had me kind of second guessing myself. I'm like, damn, did we do that bad in the draft? Golly. And now look at them guys are balling now. And only they first year starting. And you see, and the thing about this the young guys we got, the rookies and the guys in their second year, you see the talent. When you watching these Falcons games, you see the talent. It ain't all this, let's wait 4 or 5 years for him to develop, you know, give him time to develop. No, bro, they coming out, they balling. Xavier Watson, man, I ain't standing there develop shit. I'm about to come out here, I'm about to ball. Billy Bowman, like, shit, I'm about to give me some interception, bro. This is my rookie year. True, bro. Y'all about to see I can ball. James Pierce Jr. come out there whooping everybody else in training camp, fighting everybody. Hey, man, hey, boy, we're going to be aggressive. I don't know what y'all used to in Atlanta these past days. No, bro, I'm about to help bring some aggressive to this team. balling. Jalen Walker, balling. Terry Fontenot picks. Our young quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., Terry's first pick. Had a rough game this year, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Bounced back something beautifully against Washington. And then the great thing about our upcoming game, we at home. So I expect Michael Penix to have another pretty good game. Penix plays very well when he's at home, and that's normally the case for young quarterbacks. You know? Georgia Texas boy, 7th round, got Zion, and trying to tell you Terry knew Grady wanted out, so he planned ahead. Now, if Grady wanted out, I don't know about that. The reason I say I don't know about that is, one, when AJ Terrell spoke on the Water Boys, when he had a interview on the Water Boys, it kind of led me to believe that Grady didn't want out. And he was blindsided by him being released. No, that's kind of how I took it. And then also I read, you know, and although Grady had been here for about 10 years, we drafted him. He from, you know, the metro area. When I read Grady's farewell post that he put on social media, it didn't really kind of give me the indication of a guy that wanted out. You know, it kind of gave me the because I think I even think, and I might be wrong, but I kind of remember him saying something about not what I expected, but it's a business. I think I remember him either putting that in the post that he typed up or the caption. So I don't know if I necessarily can agree that Grady wanted out. But beyond that, I do think Terry realized that Grady's best days were well behind him, and he was making a significant amount of money. And Terry felt like, look, man, these guys that I done drafted, boy, Rook and these Brandon Doyle's and these boys, hey, bro, they can give me same production or better for like $16-17 million less. You know, yeah, we're gonna have to eat some dead money with you. It's all good, you know, but we also save a lot of money on the salary cap. If memory serves me correctly, oh man, I don't remember. I think we saved about somewhere around $10 million, something like that, when we released Grady. So I think Terry felt, you know, confident enough in his talent that he had acquired. Like, look, you know, we can release Grady and we can be even better without him. 82 Money Carlo, what's going on, bro? Says I'm eager to see who we get in the next draft. Me too. I'm eager to see which direction we will go as a team. Eager to see that, and you know, of course, how we perform these next 13 games and in the playoffs. I'm gonna go ahead and just manifest that and say we're gonna make the playoffs. You know, that'll determine a lot which way they'll go in the draft. David Starr says, "Wow, it's the only record with multiple interceptions." I didn't know that, and that's something else you put me on. And the crazy thing about it is, Watts almost had 2 interceptions in Tampa game. That boy's a ball hog. Remember when the last time we had a true ball hog on this team? What, Jesse Bates' first year? Maybe. That kid know how to find the ball. I mean, and that's kind of what I mean, you know, to piggyback off what David is saying. Like, these young guys, their talent is popping on the tape, man. It ain't all this developmental talk, and you know, he played this position in college, so you gotta wait and be patient with it. No, bro. It's not, y'all know my saying. Players make plays. These young cats coming here, they making plays, bro. They ain't standing all this developmental talk. And not saying that they don't need development. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, the old saying is cream rider to the top, talent rider to the top. You know, you got it. We knew day one Bijan was just super talented. You got it. You see it. You know, and not saying that Bijan won't develop and get better, because obviously Bijan is way better. Like, he's a lot better in year 3 than he was in year 1, but you saw the talent as a rookie. It went over well. We let him develop. Xavier Watts, you see the talent. The first 4 games, like, bro, this kid is talented, dog. It ain't no, well, you know, you got to wait and give him time and let him develop. No, bro. Can you play football? Are you a baller? Can you play? Ballers gonna ball, players gonna play, dogs gonna bark. Ballers gonna ball, players gonna play, dogs gonna bark. And we seeing that from these young guys, man. We are seeing that from these young guys. Georgia Texas boys the next draft, so we go opposite tackle to replace McGarry or extend Wilkerson. I don't think they will extend Wilkerson. Well, you know, we just extended McGarry, so you know we'll have a healthy Caleb McGarry back. I think he just signed a 3-year deal, so we got Caleb. You know, he'll be back healthy. Now that's not saying that they may not take a tackle in the 3rd or 4th round, because we don't have a 1st round pick. I don't see them taking a tackle with that 2nd round pick. But again, I don't know. The season still got to play itself out. But that don't mean we won't still take a tackle in the middle rounds. Well, Jake Matthews is getting old, you know, and as we saw this year, hey man, it's always a good idea to keep some depth at the tackle position, bro. It's always a good idea to keep you some good depth at the tackle position. You know, you never know what may happen. You never know. Hey, man, I may need to rotate this guy in. Hey, man, Jake getting a little older, man. He may need to take 2 games off. He may have a sore knee, you know. So, hey, quite possible. Quite possible. David Starks, I think his first couple of drafts, Art Smith was going over his head to blank. Possible. Very possible. I'm glad you brought that up. And that's kind of like a little bit what I was kind of hinting at too, David. The whole head coach and general manager, you know, they equals or whatever, and you know they both reporting to the same person. You know, that leaves room for stuff that David just said. So that is very, very possible. Very possible. Georgia Texas boys. So remember, Blank said he left McKay as an overseer because Smith and Fontenot was a young duo. Yeah. He said that in the video we just watched a moment. Also, earlier, you know, they were younger and inexperienced, and he wanted to put Rich McKay there, and that leads me to my question, like, and that's why I keep saying unintentionally. You know, of course the Falcons ain't gonna try to set themselves up for failure, but did they unintentionally fail Terry by doing stuff like that? Did they unintentionally fail him? You should have just let that young GM just, hey man, let me just go in here, boom, go in here, do my thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't need you to put this. I don't need you to make me the GM on paper, but you got your real GM still really running the show in Rich McKay. You want me to be the GM? Let me be the GM. You know, which again, another reason that kind of leads me to believe like that's probably why Arthur Smith got fired and Terry Fontenot stayed. Like Terry wasn't really doing the full duties that his job entailed, and Arthur Blank knew that. You know, it's almost like, well, let me see what you can do if I let you do your thing, bro. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what you're gonna do. Lisa said, I'm here for the youth movement. Me too. These young cats we got now, they balling, Lisa. They balling, and I'm here for it. I'm certainly here for it, Lisa. I'm here for it. I'm excited about these young baby birds we got, because they're out here to making some plays, man. And I keep saying this, but you seeing the talent. You seeing the talent is really popping off the tape. You seeing it in the games. You seeing what Xavier Watts is doing. You seeing what Billy Bowman is doing. You see the impact James Pierce Jr. makes. I mean, look on YouTube, man. You got all these bigger YouTube channels doing breakdowns on James Pierce Jr. Oh man, James Pierce Jr. gonna be a beast. Watch James Pierce Jr. I done saw a bunch of them. They just breaking out James Pierce Jr. These are from big YouTube channels that don't cover the Falcons like that. They just do tape breakdowns, but a lot of them talk about James Pierce Jr. I forgot which player that was. That there's a former NFL player said he talked to somebody within the Falcons organization, and they were saying how nobody can block James Pierce Jr. at practice. And as I said earlier, Jalen Walker, the highest rated defensive player last game against Washington, according to PFF. All these young cats, man. All these young cats out here balling. Georgia Texas boy said he also stated that he removed McKay from football operations because Terry has grown as a GM and Raheem was bringing in experience, and I'm glad he did. I'm glad he got Richmond K out the way. And whatever he doing now, leave him there. Leave him there. Let him control the Atlanta United or whatever he doing. You know, call the shots for the Benz, whatever he doing. Leave him over there. You know, let Terry do what Terry been doing, because Terry has been doing a damn great job lately bringing these young players in here, and they have been contributing big to this team. George Texas, we drafted Root Dorless and Logue in the same draft. Lisa Shepard says, I like how you set the combo up. To your point, I bet Troy Anderson was an Arthur Smith pick, not Fontenot. Yes, and I agree with you on that, Lisa. I definitely agree with you on that. I think if Terry had the cachet that he has now, I don't think he would have drafted I'm gonna say Arthur Smith. I don't think he would have drafted Troy Anderson. Strapped up 24. What's going on, Strap? We should have never let Nate Lamon go. Man, you know that's how I feel, Strap. I wish we'd have kept Nate and let Troy go. Nate playing some pretty good ball for the Rams, man. He playing some pretty good ball, and it's not like, think about Nate Lamon. I mean, I understand why they did it, and it's not like, let me say this first. It's not like Nate Lamon is making a lot of money with the Rams. I think Nate Lamon is only making about $1 million. We could have afforded that in our sleep. $1 million, like, bro, we'll give you 1.5, 1.6. You know, the reason why I think that they chose Troy over Nate, because they probably didn't see either one of them as like impact linebackers. I think behind closed doors and when they had some heart-to-heart conversations, they're like, look, neither one of these guys are impact linebackers. You know, we're going to have to get us some impact linebacker in here to put us out to run along with Caden Ellis. So since Nate's contract is over with and Troy Anderson is still on his rookie deal and we drafted him in the second round, we don't want to have mud on our face, you know, because he's still on his rookie deal. So look, let's keep Troy. Hopefully he can stay healthy and maybe he can blossom the final year of his rookie deal. And unfortunately for us, unfortunately for Troy, he's still hurt. And I'm not even sure that Troy Anderson is going to play this year. I don't know. I'm sure, because I don't think the Falcons are doing a lot of media this week like they normally would. They'll probably start talking about media and who coming off injury reserve starting on Monday. So we'll probably have a little more intel on Troy Anderson's progression, you know, maybe coming next week. Got my bro Big Low Country in the building. What's going on with you, Low? Appreciate you coming in, bro. And y'all make sure that y'all are subscribed, which I'm sure most of y'all, to Big Low Country Sports. Definitely one of the best Falcons content creators that's doing it. And definitely our best comedian that's doing it. And definitely our best rapper that's doing it. Shout out to you, Low. Appreciate you coming in, bro. David Stark says next year we need to focus on cornerback too. I can see that. I can definitely see that. Jordan Texas Boy says we had to let Nate walk. He couldn't cover. Dabo is balling right now. A lot of people say that about Nate Lamon, and I don't know. I guess in my mind, I'm just so used to comparing him and Troy. And when I see that, I'll be like, well, shoot, Troy Anderson can't cover either. I get it that he's a lot faster than Nate Lamon, but Troy not good in coverage either. You know what I mean? Troy not good in coverage either. But, you know, that is an upside that, you know, Troy does have, as he does have that speed. And you tend to hope a guy with just those physical tools and that size, like a Troy Anderson, the speed, the strength, the agility. You just hope one day, okay, he'll catch on. You know, he'll catch on. But be honest, I don't think Nate is as big of a liability in coverage as the narrative tends to go on within our fan base, because I do see that a lot. And I'm not saying that Nate Lamon was great in coverage, but you see him on the Rams now and you see that Nate is producing. He is producing. You know, now Nate did have a down year last year compared to the prior years that he was here. But in 2023, man, when Nate was healthy, man, Nate Landon was balling. He was balling for us. You know, we just sorry, but he was balling for us like he doing for the Rams. He giving the Rams, you know, some good football right now. But yeah, shout out to Diablo. You know, beyond Nate and Troy, Diablo is much better than both of them, and that really had been my gripe for a long time when it comes to linebacker play. You know, I would always think to myself like, bro, like, in order to get the defense to change, bro, we gotta get a real linebacker, man. You're gonna have to get somebody to run alongside K Nellis. K Nellis he about 30, 31, so he ain't got a lot of, you know, them prime years left. So hey, if we gonna ever turn this defense around, bro, you're gonna have to get a legit linebacker in here. And what Devon Diablo, hey man, these first 4 games, bro, he been balling. 82 Monte Carlos is Nate better than Devon, bro. Oh yeah, no doubt. And you know, hopefully that's not what I was leaning anybody to believe, because Devon Diablo is exactly what the doctors ordered. Davidson, to your point about college position, Bowman was a safety at Oklahoma, and I gotta admit, I did not watch a lot of him in college. I watched more Xavier Watts in college, you know, being that he played for Notre Dame, then eventually Notre Dame played Georgia in the playoffs. So, you know, I'm a little more familiar with Xavier Watts, but not very familiar with Bowman in college. Noah, what's going on? So, what are you doing during the bye week? Man, not much at all, bro. Not much at all. It's just go watch football Saturday and Sunday. I need to get on the internet to see that my high school team win tonight. But just what I'm gonna do on the bye week, I'm just chilling, man. Watch football all weekend and, you know, work, trying to keep myself busy, keep myself productive, man. I don't really have any plans, man. I don't plan on going nowhere doing nothing like that, bro. Just be at the house, like I say, watching football, man. But that's really what I wanted to discuss. I had another topic too, but I've been on here almost an hour and a half, so I'll just say that that's kind of like an evergreen topic for the season. So, you know, that'll probably be something we could talk about if we do another show this weekend, which we probably don't. So maybe we'll just talk about that sometime next week. You know, I'll keep that topic in a tuck and we'll talk about it probably next week. But, you know, this just was something to think about, man. Did the Atlanta Falcons fail Terry Fontenot unintentionally? And I think a case can be made that they did. You know, they did, trying to be a little too cautious with your general manager instead of just let him run and do his thing off top. But that's all I got, man. Before I get out of here, man, I want to shout out to everybody that came through in the chat. Appreciate y'all, man. All the content creators that came through in the chat. Appreciate y'all, man. And Noah, speaking of this weekend, man, everybody out there, be safe. You know, this weekend, whatever you're doing, be safe. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of your family. We ain't got no game. Well, Atlanta, we don't have a game this weekend. So, hey, at least we can, you know, watch these games and kind of be somewhat stress-free. But I can't lie, I don't necessarily like bye weeks because I like to watch the Falcons as much as I can, but what can we do about it? But much love, y'all. You know, I really appreciate y'all time, and y'all have a good one. I'm out of here. Peace.